This story happened along the Cove Creek on Southeast Alaska Scoop on North Island. A man had gone out on his own to prospect for some gold when he came across something amazing. It had started out like any other day for the man. As he walked along the creek, he emerged from the forest only to freeze in his tracks. No more than 20 paces away from him in the nearby bog was a huge Alaska timber. But the man immediately noticed that the wolf was in trouble. One of its legs had gotten caught in an old trap that had been sent by his recently deceased friend. He knew the wolf would die there if he was left in the trap. The man cautiously approached the wolf to try to back away, but that was when the man noticed something else. The wolf was a female and her teeth were full of milk. This meant that she had recently given birth and that somewhere nearby there was a den full of hungry cubs waiting for their mother. From the canine appearance, the man guessed that she had been trapped for a few days, knowing that the cubs would need to be fed soon if they were to survive and that he couldn't get the mother free to get them. The man decided to search for the cubs. Instead, he began to look for any tracks that might lead him back to the mother's den. Fortunately, there were still a few remaining patches of snow on the ground. Finally, after making his way up, the man found the den at the base of a huge spruce tree. 4 tiny wolf pups began to cautiously emerge from the den. The man looked them over and guessed that they couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. One by one, placed them in a burlap bag and headed back down the slope. When he entered into the clearing where the mother wolf was, she immediately spotted the man and stood erect, possibly picking up the scent of her young. She let out a high-pitched "put in the sack" and wanted to be reunited with her babies. As the man released, the cubs they all raced over to their mother and began to drink the milk from her teeth. The man watched them, happy that he could reunite the family with the mother wolf distracted, feeding her young. The prospector tried to move closer to them. The female canine eyes immediately snapped back to him and she began to growl threateningly. The man was at a loss as to what he could do next to help the trapped animal with her young to protect. She became belligerent and with her teeth whenever the man tried to creep towards her. He considered his options and came to the conclusion that just like her babies, the mother wolf was probably hungry. If she had been trapped, she wouldn't have been able to go for food. The men decided that he would have to find us something to eat, not only to help her, but in the hopes that she would start to trust him as well. He walked through the forest and spotted the leg of a dead deer sticking out of the snow. He cut off and made his way back to the wolf the animal's attention was clearly on. The man as he entered the clearing again as if she knew that he had something for her. The man cut the meat up and tossed chunks of venison in the wolf direction. She sniffed them, then gobbled them up. Once all the food was gone, the man built a shelter for himself and soon fell asleep. At dawn, he was awake by 4 fluffy hairballs sniffing at his face and hands. He clowns to watch the agitated mother wolf and started to come up with a plan on how to help her. If he could win the animal's try, and then you would eventually be able to see her set free. Over the next few days, the man divided his time between prospecting and winning the wolf's trust. The big animal never took her dark eyes over them, but as the days went by, she seemed to get more and more comfortable in his presence. At dusk on the 5th day, though the man had beginning to lose hope of ever being able to help the mother, then suddenly the man thought he saw a slight wagging of a tail. Deciding to take a risk, he moved within the length of a chain. The wolf remains motionless. After getting within 8 feet, 2.4 meters of her, the man cautiously sat down. He was so close that one snap of a huge jaws could break his arm or neck. Determined to help though, the man wrapped his blanket around himself and slowly settled onto the cold ground. It was a long time before I fell asleep, but eventually unconsciousness took him. The man awokened at dawn, stirred by the sound of Pop's nursing. Gently he leaned over and pet them, which caused the mother wolf to stiffen. However, he didn't do anything else. Taking this as a good sign, the man gently put his hand on the animal's injured leg. Now that he was closer, he could see that the trap had only 2 of the wolf's toes, meaning that she could be fine if he could get it open. The man quickly found the release spring and opened the trap. As soon as the mother wolf was free, she jumped away from the trap and began to look around, getting used to being able to move again. Once free, the mother wolf cautiously approached the man and sniffed. She gave him a single lick and then ran into the woods with her cubs. Before disappearing completely, she turned back around to the man, as if asking him to follow her. The man complied and slowly trailed behind the small family. For a few miles, they attended Keukenhof Mountain until they reached an alpine meadows. There, looking for the forested perimeter, was a wolf pack. The man counted 9 adults, and judging by their playful antics for nearly full grown-ups, after a few minutes of preaching, the pack broke into howling. It was an eerie sound ranging from low to high pitch, the other thing that night. The man said of his camp on the edge as he sat by his fire he could see numerous wolf shapes dodging in and out of the shadows. However, he was not afraid as he knew that the animals were only curious of him. The next day, the man knew that it was time for him to leave. He packed up his campsite, and all the while the mother watched as he did, so as the man reached the far side of the meadow, he looked back to see the mother wolf and her pups sitting where he had left them. Watching him, the mother wolf then let out a long howl before disappearing into the woods with her pack. 4 years later, the man returned to the creek. It was the fall of 1945, and after the horrors of the war, it was good to be back among the soaring spruce land, breathing the familiar bracing air of the Alaskan bush. Whilst walking along the creek, the man came across the very same trap that he had once freed the mother wolf from. It sat exactly where he had left it all those years ago. The sight of it gave the man a strange feeling, and something made him want to climb the Kupanoff Mountain to the meadow where he had last seen the wolf and her cubs. Once at the meadow, the man gave out a long wolf call. Amazingly, an echo came back across the distance. Then far off, he saw a dark shape moving slowly in this direction as it crossed the meadow. He could see it was a timber wolf, and he knew that familiar shape even after 4 years. The wolf edged closer, his erect body tense, and stopped a few yards off. Her bushy tail started wagging slightly. The man smiled at the amazing thing that just had happened before leaving the meadow. The man never saw the animal again, but the memories he left stayed with him forever.